Comments, all right. Swipe this over here. All comments are visible, so I can see you. I can see what you type, and you can see me. Well, welcome to Coffee Talk 11. My name is Gabe, and I'm your very unqualified amateur host here as we talk about everything from news to the family here and YouTubing, different adventures and trips we have planned. So let me take a swig. It is Sunday, December 5th, and it's like 9:30 something. I'm getting a little bit late start this morning because I woke up with just a pounding headache this morning, and I think it's a lot of stuff going on. But down here in southern Alabama, right now it's 61 degrees out. It's a balmy 61 degrees, and the fall leaves are continuing to drop behind me here. It's a beautiful morning. The fog is still here. It's still set in, and kind of a good morning to wake up and just go back to sleep, which is kind of rare for me to do. But when I wake up with a headache like this, it's just sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But anyways, we're here, we're live, and if you're just coming in to the YouTube live thing here, to the Coffee Talk, do me a favor and just let me know where you're watching from. You can type in the state or the country or whatever you want to do, however much detail you're comfortable with giving. But yeah, so first and foremost, I want to say welcome to everybody, new subscribers, old subscribers. The channel just blows my mind and seems to continue to grow for some reason, and I'm really honored by that and appreciate that. We have a lot of videos that we're working on, and we're in the process of planning. First and foremost, you know, the series we're working on right now, My Backyard to the Ocean, is well underway. We're on day 4 of 9, I believe, or maybe day 4 goes live tonight. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I need to go to the channel and see. I've uploaded already a few days in advance, so I think, let me go and check here on our YouTube channel. Yeah, okay, so day 4 of 9 is going to go live tonight at 7 Central Time. So be sure to catch that, and I'll be watching with you. So if you have any questions about what it was like to traverse 135 miles downstream in a kayak and taking 8.5 or 9 days to do it, you know, I'll be there with you. I can watch with you. Noah will probably be watching with me. Actually, realistically, the whole family will probably be watching as well. So that'll be at 7 Central, 8 Eastern time tonight. You can watch that. And then day 5 comes out the following Sunday. But yeah, so we're still looking ahead and looking at, I'm doing another knife torture test video right now. I'm in the process of filming it, different segments. I'll give you a little hint on that video. This knife that I'm torturing didn't make it through the first 2 sets of torture. It just disintegrated, and it's no longer. I've actually had to go and buy another version of that knife and continue the torture. So it's all in the name of science, I suppose. But we're working on that. I hope to have that. I hope to have that done here in a couple weeks. Then it looks like we're going down to South Florida here at some point, and I'm going to be doing another video series of me going downstream somewhere. I'm going to go, you know, from a designated point to the ocean, and it's probably not going to take me as long, but it's going to be a little bit more fun. I kind of figured out a little bit better what to do, what not to do, but. Some of you guys, when I put this poll up on our YouTube channel, and I asked, you know, what do you like to see in our content? What content do you enjoy the most? A lot of you put, you know, kayak camping kind of stuff like this, and different adventures on the water. So we're going to be doing that here at the end of this month. So be looking for those videos to come out in next month sometime. But yeah, so I like to start off sometimes here. We started a new tradition here on Coffee Talk, where I talk to you about some interesting news, some funny news. And this is a story that I found on AP, and it's entitled, Homeowner Tries to Smoke Out Snakes and Burns House Down. And this happened in Poolesville, Maryland. Maryland home was accidentally burned to the ground by an owner trying to get rid of a snake infestation, officials said. The homeowner in Poolesville, a town about 25 miles outside of Washington, D.C., was attempting to use smoke to purge the snakes out from the home, according to Montgomery County Fire Department officials. In the process, the homeowner caught the house on fire, causing about $1 million in damage. So that is tragic. but I can't say that I would try anything different. So this homeowner apparently had some kind of snake infestation under their house and was going to smoke them out, and in turn burnt their house down. Tragic story, but like I said, I don't know that I would do anything different. The other thing we like to do on Coffee Talk is we like to talk about some aspect of our family, and I jotted down a few little notes here, but some aspect of our family. You know, we're a family YouTube channel. I have 3 sons, and my wife Stacy, we've been married going on 15 years now. And I like to talk about one of the aspects of raising a family, and raising boys in particular. So today I entitled this Coffee Talk, Raising Boys to Take Risks. And it's a really interesting title. I hope it caught your attention, because this day and age, it seems like we do everything in our power to avert risk. And we try to, you know, do everything short of wrapping, duct taping, bubble wrap all over our children before we send them out the door. But I kind of have a different stance on that, and a kind of different paradigm, and I'd like to share it with you. Especially, I think, with boys, it's important that you teach boys how to take risk. Okay, so I have a comment coming in from Riley. He says, I don't have time to watch live right now, but I do have a question. It seems on topic with what you're discussing. I have a 3-month-old, and I'm nervous about when he will be old enough to adventure. Riley, thank you so much for your question. I hope you can stick around as long as you can. If not, just watch it after the fact. But I'm going to take your question, Riley, and I'm going to try my best to answer that. Yeah, so I have 3 boys. They are ages 13, 9, and 5. And yeah, they are very energetic, very active young men. And boys are very different than girls. I know that's very politically correct to say sometimes, depending on what circles you're in and around. But boys are different, and they should be raised different. And one of the things we do is encourage our sons to take calculated and well-planned risks. What do I mean by that? For instance, if my 13-year-old has any interest in, you know, learning how to throw knives, let's say. We throw knives a lot. If you've ever seen our videos, we throw a lot of knives. But let's say he has an interest in that. I'm going to sit down with him and say, you know what? That sounds like a lot of fun. What can we do to get you there, you know? And what can we do to get you there safely? So in other words, I think a lot of parents might say, you know, no, that's a horrible idea. You know, there's so much danger in throwing knives, you know, into a tree or into a piece of wood. You can't do that. You can't ever do that, you know? And every time they have this sort of like idea or this risk they want to take, or this adventure that they want to go on, we immediately squash that as parents sometimes and say, no, you can't do any of this risk. You can't take this. You can't do this. It's going to cost you something, and you're going to get hurt, and you're going to die, and all this. And we fill them with all these crazy ideas, you know. But I think a better approach would be, you know, hey, that sounds really fun, actually. It sounds like quite the adventure. What can we do to get you there and get you there safely? Hi, Joyce. Good morning. Good to see you this morning. So, Riley, yeah, obviously, you know your child better than I do. But, you know, it's important to harbor, especially in boys, it's important to harbor a desire to want to take risk and to seek adventure, to overcome fear, and and I guess encourage them to realize, hey, that seems really challenging, and that seems kind of dangerous, but I think I can do that as long as I calculate it out and I try it. And yeah, they may get hurt. They may get hurt. They may cut themselves. They may get sunburned. They may fall and scratch their knees multiple times. But you know, it's so important that we teach them how to take risks, because if I squash, you know, this desire to want to adventure in a young man, this wild heart they have, you know, no, I would never allow knife play, not appropriate. That's totally fine. And I do allow my kids to use knives. But let me answer that question real quick, because, for instance, my 5-year-old has a knife. He has a fixed blade knife. And what I did with that is, I said to him, and all my boys have knives. They have multiple knives. What I said with that was like, hey, this is a knife. This is the potential of this knife. It's a tool. It is dangerous. And let me walk you through the different hazards surrounding this knife. And then I'm going to demonstrate for you how to use this knife safely. I'm going to give you kind of a crash course and like certify you on using a knife. This is at 5 years old, okay? And I'm going to teach you how not to use a knife. You're going to watch me use a knife for a long time. Then I might buy you a small Victorinox little pocket knife. And then I'm going to give that knife to you and watch you use it. And anytime you do use it, I need to be sitting in the room with you or just right next to you and watching you use it. And I'm going to tell you, all the rules associated with a knife. You can't walk around with it open. How do you and your son get interested in taking risks? How do you push past their grate? How do you push past their grate? I'm not sure how that. I don't fully understand that question. I'm sorry, but I value your question. I just want fear. Oh, how do you push past their fear? Yeah, very good question, Alexis. Thank you. We teach children how to fear. So what they do is they mimic the fear that's already in us. I have found with children. So, for instance, when my son and I, Noah, were just on this 9-day trip down the river, we encountered some weird things out there. For instance, we were pulled up on the sandbar, and we started hearing explosions in the distance. Yeah, like legit explosions, like ordinances and bombs hitting the earth. I always told my children that everything is allowed unless you would hurt yourself. Otherwise, others are property. Yeah, so, but right away, my son Noah, as we're hearing these explosions off in the distance on the river, and it's dark out, it's spooky out there, there's no civilization around, he immediately looks at me. He's looking at me to gauge how fearful I am of the explosions they're probably miles away, but you can still hear them, and they're still very spooky at night. And so he immediately looks at me, and I can tell he's looking at me out of my peripheral vision, and I immediately say, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm not worried about it. I was worried about it. I was actually a little bit shook up by it. But I got on the phone and I talked to a pilot friend of mine, and I said, hey, are there any bombing ranges nearby? Because I knew that there was an Air Force base down on the coast, Eglin Air Force Base. And sure enough, he responded right away, yeah, it seems like you're close to Wagner Field, where they actually do live bombing runs and stuff out there. So then I told my son that. I was like, oh yeah, it's just Wagner Field. It's where the Air Force drops bombs and stuff to practice. And it's actually about 10 miles away from us, so it's amazing that the sound is traveling this far. But just, after that, it was just like he was cool with that. And then it turned into, wow, this is a really neat memory. I'm out here in the river, and I'm hearing bombs dropping. And, so just many, many instances like that on the river where our children, your children will look at you as a parent and try to gauge a level of fear. And many sociologists and psychologists say that this generation that's coming up right now, my children's generation, is going to be the most fearful generation ever to exist in American history. They will not take risks. They prefer the safety of their bedroom. They prefer a device in front of them. They prefer the bubble wrap surrounding them because we taught them that. We told them that the world will kill you, that everything out there will hurt you. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Alexis. I appreciate your chiming in this morning. I really do. So yeah, going back to, I think it was Riley's question, when do we know when is it appropriate to teach our kids to take risk? You know better than I do, but every man, including myself, and down onto my 5-year-old and even younger boys, we are what one author calls us, wild at heart. There's a book, actually, Wild at Heart. I think it's by John Etheridge. And it talks about how, as a mother, your tendency with your children, with your sons, is to guard them and to protect them and to nurture them. And if there's, and then the father's job is to toughen them and to prepare them for how to provide for their families, how to take risk, how to survive in a fight, even, things like that. And that is taught and that's harbored by a father in the relationship. But sometimes, unfortunately, and some of you watching this may be in this situation, the father is not in the picture at all. the father is gone, maybe there's a divorce or a separation or whatever the case may be, and the mother then is solely responsible for raising a boy. And that's obviously better than nothing, and mothers do a fantastic job. And kudos to the mother for being a single mother and working hard and doing the best she can. But unfortunately, what tends to happen sometimes is that boy misses that part of the equation of being tough and learning how to protect women, learning how to win in a fight, or how to seek a job, how to do a job interview, how to take a risk, and how to do adventures. And so that becomes imbalanced to a certain extent, and the child then learns everything about nurturing, everything about guarding and protecting themselves from their mothers, which is a very important and vital part of the equation. So, yeah, I think Riley, you know better than I do when you can teach your children to take risk and when you can teach them to take adventures. But yeah, just, be mindful of the fact that you don't want to be stupid with your children, obviously. You don't want to be unwise and foolish with them. They're very important gifts that have been given to you. You want to be good stewards and take care of them. But at the same time, you don't want them to grow up too scared to call in an order to Pizza Hut or Domino's, and talk to, how, as a single mother, teach my son to be tough. Wow, Alexis, that's a really deep question. And, that is very tough. One of the things I can recommend to you, and this is I don't know where you're at with this, but I'm a person of faith, and I attend a church, and there are boys and young men at this congregation, at this church, that I can look at and see that this young man lacks a father in his life. And me being a father, in my faith, it says that I am to be a father. No need ever to be tough, be kind. No, you're very wrong, Free Talk. Unfortunately, there are times where we have to be tough. We really do have to be tough. But man, lots of comments coming in. Timmy, I could probably help with that. I was the oldest of a single mom with 4 kids. I grew up fast. Yeah, Timmy, thank you for your comment. So I see young men who are lacking that father in my faith community, and I come alongside them, and I go, along with my sons, I go on adventures with them. I invite them to go paintballing with me. I invite them to go fishing with me. I try my best to extend myself into their realm as well and be a father for them. But Free Talk, you made a point that I'm going to kindly disagree with. You said there is never a need to be tough. There absolutely is many needs and opportunities to be tough that arise, unfortunately. I wish we didn't have to be tough as men in this world. But the men who stormed the beaches of Normandy did so because they were tough. The men that walked into concentration camps and freed millions of people who were on the verge of starving to death. Millions did, around 11 million did at the hands of the Third Reich in Germany. They were liberated, they were freed, and their lives were spared because there was men who were tough. There was men who were willing to stand up and die for the sake of other people. And I hope that we still have people like that in this nation. But, there's people who are being exploited by other humans right now in this world. Organizations, religions, corporations, political parties that are exploiting other human beings. And it takes we could call it a righteous toughness to stand up to these people who are exploiting other human beings and say, no, we will not tolerate this. This is inconsistent with the values and human rights. And that takes toughness. It doesn't always mean that you're going to exploit those people back. You don't exploit those people back. You just stand up to a bully. Just like in the play yard at school or whatever. You see this kid getting bullied. It takes someone tough to come up and defend him. And I think that that's what we're called to be as men. We're expected to be. A good man is going to see a situation and say, you know what, this situation is unjust. I need to stand up and defend the defenseless. That's a risk that, I'm going to have to take. That might cost me something. It might get me a few bruises. It might get me knocked up a little. I mean, like, it might, you know, just cost me my life even sometimes to do that. But I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to do that. Just like the men in the 1940s who sailed across oceans to fight fascism, to fight tyranny, to fight hatred and anti-Semitism. Like, those men were tough as nails. And that is just incredible to me. You know, the men who went up against the Imperial Japanese army in Iwo Jima, the Marines there who stormed beaches after beaches after beaches with very little pay. They did so because they realized that the tide of fascism and the tide of racially charged imperialism was closing in around them, and they needed to do something about it. That takes someone tough, right? And that's what I want to raise my boys to be. See, but a good man is tough, but a good man is also going to know how to harness his power, learn how to harness his strength. And that's the essence of being a good man, is that you know you have power, you know you have strength, you know that you are tough, but you also know how to harness that and use it for good. And sadly, there are a lot of powerful boys that turn into men, anatomically speaking, but not mentally speaking, who don't harness the power that has been given to them, the strength that has been given to them, and they use that to exploit other people. They use that to do unjust things to other people. So yeah, I kindly and humbly disagree with your comment that we don't need to be tough, we just need to be kind. I think we need to be both sometimes. It's actually a kind thing to be tough sometimes. So as Eisenhower's troops are walking into the concentration camps and opening up those gates and trying to figure out how much do we feed these people before we kill, you know, we don't want to kill them with our food, but these people are on the verge of death. Those men that were walking in were kind. They did a lot of tough things to get to that point as they're walking into concentration camps, but they were being kind in doing so. And I think that that's what we're supposed to be, is to be able to balance those two. So raising your kids, if I could circle this way back around, if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in there. Raising your kids to take risk and raising your kids to be tough is a great, and especially boys, is a great gift that you can give them, a marvelous gift that you can give them. And one of the things I'm always very strict about with my sons is how they interact with their mother, how they talk to their mother, how they treat their mother. Because a good man grows up to see a woman as someone who is to be cherished and someone who is to be valued and protected and honored, and not someone who is to be exploited and talked down to or anything like that. And I'm trying to teach my sons how to be like that. And I hope I model that for them first and foremost. But a key component of raising happy children is teaching them how to be risk takers. Teach your boys the value of work, and they will have the courage and strength and time to be the men. Oh, sorry, I couldn't see. The men God intends. Show them how to care for others. Give them responsibilities, and they will flourish. Yeah, Joyce, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, teaching men how to value good work and how to work hard without complaining is such a valuable lesson as well. How to provide for other people. It's such a thankless job to be a good man, but our world absolutely needs more of them. And sometimes we buy into this notion that masculinity is, like, you know, not okay. It's toxic, or it's dangerous, or it's polluting the world or something like that. But real masculinity is anything but. It's the opposite. So Alexis, I hope that answers your question about your being a single mother and you raising your sons. I'm sorry that, you know, you don't have a helpmate in that is someone who can help you with that. So thank you, Shay. I can see that in my boys as well. But Alexis, like I said, that's just my perspective is maybe get involved in a community of faith where there are, you know, good men around that can help you in that. But that's really crucial. Like, there's lots of programs for young men out there that are faith-based, that maybe he can get involved in as well. But you know, in my faith, like I said, we're taught to be a father to the fatherless. So it's not good enough for me just to be a father to my own sons. That I'm actually called and told to be a father even to those who don't have fathers, to the best of my ability. And that's tough. It's really tough. So, well, guys, wait, where do you live now if not in the tiny house? Hey, Dev, very good question. We live in a normal house. We used to live in a tiny house, and we actually, so two reasons why we moved out of the tiny house. My father lived 6 hours south of us, and he was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS, and which is a terminal muscular disease. And I owned a house very close to where he was living. So we actually, we had it rented out, but we actually moved into that house that my renters were in. And I was able to go over. Alexa says, yes, it does. Nothing to be sorry for. Okay, cool. We actually moved into that house, and I was caring for my father in his last months of his life. I was helping to spend, just helping care for him, but also just be present with him and spend a lot of time with him. He was very formational in my life and one of my closest friends. So we moved out of our tiny house to do that. In addition to that, we had a third boy, Micah, who is now 5 years old. So the tiny house we were living in could accommodate 4 people, but it couldn't accommodate 5 people. So that's 2 main reasons why we moved out of the tiny house. But we loved the tiny house. We loved living in it. It was an amazing blessing that we had that time there, to live a very simple life. And we had such good memories there. Fortunately, a good son, thank you, Shay. Fortunately, that tiny house is now in the hands of family members, and they're using it, and they're enjoying it as well. So, yeah, that's nice that it's still in the family, I guess. But yeah, that's another good thing, is like, you know, not bragging or tooting my own horn or anything like that, but I hope my son saw what I did and the decision I made to move out of a place that we love, like a tiny house, to go care for my father, and to be more present with my father. Because that's what being a good man is all about too, is honoring your father and your mother and all the sacrifices they made in your life. Everything from changing your diaper to feeding you to providing for you and teaching you and pouring into you. So yeah, that's you know, ends on a kind of a good note, I think, is teaching our children to take risk, calculated, mitigated risk, you know, like, but not doing the whole wrapping them in bubble wrap and sending them outside the door because they want to ride their scooter or something like that. A lot of times, one of the best things we can do for our children is to allow them to feel the pain of their own decisions. You might be thinking, wait, what? You know, yeah, it's actually a really good and healthy thing to do. When they want to do something and it's a bad decision and you can't talk them out of it, like putting their finger in a fire, putting their finger in a flame, in a candle. You know, I can say like, hey, I can sit here, I can hover over you and pull your hand back every single time, you know, that you want to stick your finger in there. But what can I get accomplished? You know, that's all I'm doing. What if instead I say, okay, hey, when you put your finger in there, it's going to hurt you really bad. But I got to go do other things. So I'm going to leave it up to you whether or not you want to put your finger in that candle. And sometimes you know, a couple minutes later, you hear the child screaming in pain, but you know, it's just like a little burn. It's not going to end their life or anything like that. But I guarantee you one thing, that they now believe you. They believe, okay, dad is smart. Dad knows something about that fire. And then number 2, I won't do that again. I will never do that again. Whereas if I sit there and I hover over them and I continue to, you know, bat their hands away and don't touch that candle, you know, and do all this and obsess over keeping them from feeling a little bit of pain, then that's gonna be like, for them, the forbidden fruit that they can't have, and they're gonna always be looking for a way to get that. You know, the other day, for instance, I had like 4 boys over here at one time. There's like a birthday party. I can't remember what it was, but they were just tearing through the house and going crazy and just messing everything up and just getting on my nerves. And I was like, guys, come here, everybody come here. And I went in the kitchen and I got a lighter, a Bic lighter. Yeah, thank you, Joyce. I got a Bic lighter out of the kitchen and I handed it to one of the boys and I said, here's a lighter, go outside in the back and start a fire. And they all just like froze and they like looked at me, they're like, what? I said, yes, go outside and start a fire. And as long as you keep it in our backyard, I want you to start a fire. Now, I was watching them from up in the house. Like I was sitting on the back porch and looking out, you know, I could see them just fine and everything. So, and they were in an area that I knew they weren't going to start a forest fire. But for 7, 8, 9-year-old boys to be told to go make a fire, for them, that was just like, wow. So they spent like 2 hours out there throwing little twigs into this fire. Just like 2 hours of just like obsessing over building this little campfire. And yeah, they could have gotten burned. They probably even did get burned. But it teaches them how to weigh out risk and how to experience something that's adventurous and how to balance those two and you know, reconcile those two concepts of risk and also danger and pain. But yeah, it's an interesting generation that's coming up for sure. And I hope this is giving you guys some inspiration. We're going way longer than I typically do with these coffee talks, but that's okay. Lots of questions were coming in and there's no time limit. You know, the other thing I did want to mention in this coffee talk was I am working on a studio. I'm gonna be making one of our rooms down in our basement into a studio where, you know, I can do coffee talks from in there, which I would like to eventually turn these coffee talks into sort of like a podcast or something. I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that, but that way you can, you know, we can do some more like talk show style things. I can maybe have some people come in and sit and interview them with these coffee talks. But I like this. I like the setting out here as well. This is just my backyard, but you know, it's pretty cool. But I think this might be my default, but from time to time, maybe go into the studio and work on that. But it's probably going to be a few months before the studio is completely ready. And it's got like popcorn on the ceilings, and I need to paint the walls, and then I'm going to build like a backdrop. And the backdrop is going to have little trinkets from videos that we've done in the past. So have like, you know, like kayak paddle and like a knife and a banjo and different things like that in there hanging on the wall. So, but yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching this far. I want to give a shout out to the Meadows family. I want to give a shout out to Sherry, Jean, Joan, Riley, thanks for your question. Shay, Joyce, Lexus, thanks so much for tuning in this morning. Really appreciate it, guys. Don't forget, 7 p.m. tonight, Central Time, so that's 8 o'clock Eastern Time, our day 4 of our 9-day adventure down the river will drop. It'll be live, and I'll be watching with you. So if you have any questions about that, you know, chat with me there as we watch. Blessings to you and your family as well, Joyce. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it real, guys. We'll see you next Sunday, 9 a.m. I promise I won't be late this time. This is just a different situation. I had a pounding headache when I woke up this morning, so I was about 30 minutes late. But keep it real, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you later.